COVID was a very confusing time. So roz ko oka idea vachedi. Even I didn't really know how to put those questions. Finally, when the activewear idea came to me, but I was like, if I don't do it now, I'll never do it. Out of 5 years, second year lone telispoindi that law is not for me. I'm going to make it happen. Okay, I just wanted to get out of Hyderabad. I learned from YouTube.
If you don't mind sharing, what were those random ideas?
It goes no risk, no story. Honestly, then I just jumped into it. It was more like a gut feeling, I think.
Hello and welcome to another episode of How Did You Make It? Today on our podcast, our guest is Harshitha, who's a founder of a company called Mileactive. So Harshitha, because she recently founded her company a couple of months ago, tana initial struggles enti అండ్ తన ఆన్లైన్ ఫ్రీ టూల్స్ ని లెవరేజ్ చేసుకొని తన సొంత వెబ్సైట్ ఎలా బిల్డ్ చేసుకుంది, తన కంపెనీని ఎలా బిల్డ్ చేసుకున్నది అన్నదే ఈ రోజు ఎపిసోడ్. సో ఫర్ ఆల్ ద న్యూ ఎంటర్ప్రెనర్స్ ఆర్ ఫర్ పీపుల్ హూ వాంట్ టు స్టార్ట్ సంథింగ్ దేర్ ఓన్, ఐ థింక్ దిస్ ఇస్ అన్ ఎపిసోడ్ దట్ యూ మస్ట్ లిసన్ టు. Hi, welcome to another episode of How Did You Make It? On today's episode, we have Harshitha, who's a founder of a company called Mileactive, which is into activewear. Hi, Harshitha.
Hi.
Welcome to How Did You Make It?
Thank you.
So, to start off with, can you help us understand how you started Mileactive?
Okay, so it started from a personal problem of not finding the activewear that I wanted in India. So I've been working out for a couple of years.
Okay.
And every time I wanted to buy activewear to go to the gym, go for a run and all of that, I just didn't find the quality of activewear in India. So every time I traveled or someone was traveling, I would buy in bulk or ask someone to get me 10 things. And it was just not accessible, very expensive. It didn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So appudu I started trying activewear in India, and there are a bunch of fantastic brands doing great things, but I still felt like the quality that international brands were giving was somehow missing. It just, the activewear here didn't tick all my boxes personally. So then I was like, okay, like why is it not as accessible in India? Let's see if we can make it happen. And that's how the whole idea for Mileactive started.
When did you get the idea and when did it get implemented?
Oh God. So the idea came to me during lockdown.
Okay.
And I didn't do anything about it for a couple of months. And then I started working on it on the side. I was also interning in other places to get some experience and all of that. So I was working on it on the side, but then I realized that I'm just pushing it and I'm not really giving it my 100%. So then I quit everything else I was doing and I started working on it full time. So from idea to actually launching was over a year.
యూజువల్ గా మనకి వచ్చిన సమ్ టైమ్స్ ఇట్ హ్యాపెన్స్ దట్ మనకు ఒక ఐడియా వస్తే మనం ఇంప్లిమెంట్ చేస్తున్నాం, వి మూవ్ ఫార్వర్డ్ విత్ ఇట్. బట్ సమ్ టైమ్స్ ఇట్ హ్యాపెన్స్ సో దట్ మనకి 3-4 ఐడియాస్ ఉంటాయి. We research on that and we narrow it down to one idea. Did that happen?
I feel like during COVID especially, every day kotta idea వచ్చింది. Because చిన్నప్పటి నుంచి I always wanted to do something on my own.
Okay.
What I wanted to do was always a big question mark, and what I studied was so different, and I didn't want to, go in that same path. So COVID was a very confusing time. So roz ko oka idea vachedi. I actually worked on some ideas also, like very random ideas. But appudu I did a lot of research, spoke to people, I did all of that. Finally, when the activewear idea came to me, honestly, I was too scared to take it forward because I'm like, other ideas మీద నేను research చేసా, ఇది కూడా maybe it will be just something I do research on and leave it. So actually, the first time I sent a survey to a group of people, I made a basic survey.
Okay.
Adi pampichinaka, I didn't even go ahead with it. I stopped my research there. I had to send a second survey and be like, no, I'm going to take this forward.
If you don't mind sharing, what were those random ideas?
My first idea was healthy ice cream, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, and now I consume like so many different brands. Every time I'm eating healthy ice cream, I'm like, I could have been one of them. But that was the first idea that I got, and I didn't do anything about it because I did research, but I didn't really go too much into it because I was reading about the problems of like cold storage and all.
Okay.
And honestly, it's just that fear of like, oh, maybe I can't do it is what pushed me back. So I did have that fear even while starting Mile. I had all of that. But I was like, if I don't do it now, I'll never do it.
So with let's say with the healthy ice cream, you didn't have the conviction to feel like, okay, this is something that I want to jump into. Why did you feel that about Mileactive?
I feel like somewhere it was like it's a very personal problem, right? Like I know what it feels like, and people around me, so I just took it way more seriously.
So when did you start it? Eప్పుడు start చేశారు Mileactive అన్నది and how's it going now?
So we launched this year only, so it's a very very new brand. May 20th we launched, and touchwood as of now it's going great, and everyone has great things to say, like customer feedback. And obviously the friends and family I have who bought from us and tried out everything, they've given me honest feedback. And apart from that also, like customers who have no clue who they are, they just maybe come through Instagram ads or something like that, and they buy from us and they give good feedback, then it's the best feeling. Then I'm like, okay, I know we're moving in the right direction, because we're so new. It's still very difficult to be like, oh, my 5-year plan into 10-year plan into. I don't have one, honestly.
Correct.
But ippudu, to know that we're moving in the right direction, it's honestly the feedback that we get.
So what kind of research went into Mileactive? Because about activewear, even if it's about food, we can at least guess, okay, if we logistics and all of that. But if you're starting a brand for activewear, koncham adi, like you need to do a lot of research.
Yeah.
So like what kind of research went into it, and like what milestones did you set for yourself?
So honestly, I don't have a design background, right? Like I did law, which is completely different from what I'm doing now. And so I knew that because I don't have that design expertise, I need to work with someone who has. So I was working with freelance designers and all of that. And even once we had, say, this is going to be our first collection on Telsnaka, we're like, okay, let's start approaching manufacturers.
Okay.
A lot of manufacturers who I spoke to initially, in India specifically, they were like, in activewear, they were like, what exactly is it? Because even the term activewear is still very new in India compared to most other places. So I had to be like, it's sportswear, but also not. It's more like for women to go to the gym, but also for everything else. Like even I didn't really know how to put those questions ahead to people. So it was a lot of trial and error. It was a lot of rejections. It was a lot of explaining that, okay, for women to run, go to the gym, do yoga, do Pilates, walking, anything, they wear clothing, right? So atla literally from scratch I had to explain, because the term itself is so unique.
And how is this different from sportswear?
Sportswear again is way more technical. Sportswear is like ippudu hockey jerseys or like cricket jerseys, something like that. And the properties of that is more specific to the certain sport.
So when we're starting a business, one thing that we need to make sense of is the financial aspect of it. How were you convinced that, okay, this is something that's scalable, this is something that's going to help me run all the logistics and all the admin and everything else, and also make me profit?
So that also is like a tricky question, because when I started also, it's more like, I'm going to give myself, say, 3 years. In 3 years, I'll do everything I can, and I'm going to make it happen. It's more like I just like believed in the whole idea of it. So when it comes to the finance aspect also, it's more like I'm going to make it happen. So it's a way of justifying it in some sense. I don't know if that really answers the.
I know what you mean. It's more of the attitude that you're bringing to the table and then figuring out the logistics later. And you'll be like, okay, ఏదో ఒకటి చేసి అయితే ఫిగర్ అవుట్ చేసేద్దాం.
There's a solution to everything. Maybe I'm able to say this now because we're so new. Maybe 1 year tarvata, 2 years tarvata, my answer might change. But this is purely because we're so new. we're open to experimenting because inka we don't know what is really working for us, what is really not working for us. We're in that stage where we're able to experiment. So I think that's why my answer is a little like, fully dependent on that.
Got it, got it. For a product like this, ఇన్వెస్ట్మెంట్ ఎక్కువ ఉంటుందా లేదంటే is it pretty pocket friendly?
Again, it's a very subjective thing, kada.
Correct.
So, say for example, you have X amount of money as your investment. It also depends on how you want to distribute the amount. So, you can choose, it's a personal choice. You can choose to spend more on, say, social media, website, or all of that, or more on keeping stock. So, it really depends on what you really want to put out there. So, for example, I was very, very certain that the first photo shoot that happens has to be exceptionally good. Like, the pictures quality chala bagundali, and like, it should really showcase, like, people should want to buy the product. I was very certain about that.
Correct.
So I decided to spend a little extra on it. In fact, chala mandi annaru like inka chikka chesayachu and all, but I was like, no, the first impression. So I want to spend a little extra and make it happen. Similarly, ipudu website, people spend thousands of rupees, lakhs of rupees, whatever their budget is. Funny, I wanted to cut down there. I wanted the website to be great, but at the same time, I'm like, Tarvata, maybe we can improve it. For now, I'll do it on my own. So I didn't spend any money on the website. Instead, I put that on the first photo shoot and just getting my product, getting my stock. I spent a lot of money getting the samples right. Instead of just like 1, 2, I got a bunch of them. So I spent money on all of that. So investment also, it really depends on how you're able to allocate it across different things.
What's the range of your products right now?
So we have leggings, biker shorts, sports bras as of now.
Okay.
It start at 1899, go up to 2100.
Okay.
That's also because we didn't want to make it very expensive. And at the same time, I agree it's not extremely on the other end where it's super affordable also. It's kind of in that middle range.
Okay.
Funny, like the other big brands like Nike, Adidas and all, obviously not trying to compete with them. But their pricing in India is in the 4,000s, 5,000s range. And we want it to be lesser than that because how do you compete with such a big brand otherwise? You know? And also because if it's such a new brand and such a niche category, for people to try also, koncham, it should be a little more accessible, right? Price can't be the first barrier. So that was another thing that I was very conscious about.
Yeah.
And now actually November, we're going to launch our second collection and that will be more fun. For sure. Now, until first collection, the idea was we'll keep it basic, simple, and also because we didn't have so much data or anything, it was just like a go with the flow kind of approach.
Yeah.
Like we did the same design and the same products in 4 different colors, 2 dark and 2 light.
Okay.
So based on what customers have been buying, we're like, okay, inni dark colors వెళ్తున్నాయి, inni light colors వెళ్తున్నాయి. In our second collection, we'll incorporate all of that. So it's more like learning on the job.
Yeah. The more data you collect,
Yeah.
you can optimize it better.
So second collection, also we're trying to incorporate a lot of customer feedback, be it through Instagram polls or surveys or actually calling up and talking to people that bought more than 5 things from us. But we're using our resources that way. And if you think about it, it's a free resource. Like you're not spending on that data collection and you're hearing directly from your customers. So we're doing that, whether it's the design, the cut, the color, anything, we're trying to just hear back from the people who actually like our product.
Very interesting. So are you currently focused completely on digital sales or are you also doing any retail right now?
No, we're doing fully e-commerce because appudu I feel like pan India ante the whole location is not a barrier, right? Anyone across the country can buy from our website. Kani, again, the small hurdle with activewear is because it's something that sticks to your body and, people are very conscious about activewear and it's new. People are a little skeptical about buying it because you are very conscious about the fabric, the stretch, how it will look on you, how it will feel on you, is it breathable, atla different things. It's different from just buying a dress, But you're like size chart చూసి బాగుంది కొనుక్కుంటా లేకపోతే రిటర్న్ చేస్తారు. This is like a sports bra legging is more different from that. So people are already a little iffy about buying online. So to cater to that, we actually did a pop up in Bangalore. And that did really well because upper people could actually touch the product and be like, oh, actually, it's looking like what it is on the website. So Atla, we're open to doing pop-ups here and there across India.
Okay.
Kani retail, I don't think that's on the cards as of now.
But
Yeah,
I think I think with activewear, right, it's more of how you're feeling in it.
Yeah.
And you can't really explain. Sometimes, even if you're reaching out to your customers, I think more days than not be able to explain to you why they're liking it, why they're not liking it. So,
yeah, that's true.
Is that a hurdle that you've thought about?
It is. Ante, it's also like, I don't know how true it is. Again, I'm just guessing whatever's coming at the top of my mind. Activewear, working out all of this, it's a very mood based thing. For example, this morning when I went to work out, I was actually wearing samples that were going to be launching.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, look good, feel good, I'm working out, all of that. But I was tired from the weekend, honestly. So I didn't really feel so good working out. So after I was looking at the samples, I'm like, maybe it's not good. I questioned it for a second. But I'm like, last week I felt the best.
Yeah.
Very mood based. It's tricky like that. You're right.
What's your background like? What have you studied? That seems like an interesting topic to touch upon.
Yeah, so I studied law and so 5 years course. And throughout law school, I mean, I learned a lot, made great friends, lots of great experiences and all of that. But I just didn't enjoy studying it at all. And ఇది నాకు second year, out of 5 years, second year లోనే తెలిసిపోయింది that law is not for me. But I didn't know what I wanted to do. I even considered dropping out. But appudu my mom was like, if you drop out, you need to get into something immediately. A break unte for your personality, maybe it'll be tough to get back into something. So decide what you want to do. And I couldn't at that point. I was also very young, very confused. And I was like, okay, ఒకసారి join అయితే let me finish it. I don't want to give up. I wanted, like, if I joined, I'll do my best. And actually, I turned out to be a good student. So, but yeah. But as soon as that happened, I graduated into the pandemic. That was again a confusing phase because all my friends, all my college friends ended up getting jobs at tier one law firms in Bombay and Delhi where, highly paying jobs and all of that. Like the typical route, which they all really enjoy for themselves. Adi Telsana, I was stressed out, but I still didn't even sit for college placements because I'm like, not so I do not want to go into that. I'll take my own time. Everyone has their own path and journey. I'll figure it out. And it was a stressful decision. Now to talk about it, it feels a little lighter. It was extremely stressful, but it was a conscious decision that I took. Yeah, ఇప్పటి వరకు a lot of people they're like, so law join అవ్వచ్చు. There's a lot of different things in law. No hate to any of that because you need to enjoy what you're doing at the end of the day, right? So that was a conscious decision that I took, and I was like, I'll do something on my own, and here we are.
This was something that I could relate to as well. After my 12th standard, so growing up, my parents decided that they wanted me to become a doctor. After 10th standard, I was like, anything but. And then 11th and 12th, I was like, sare, mathematics. So, elimination process లో mathematics.
Wow.
సో 11th and 12th అయిపోయిన తర్వాత లైక్ ఓకే ఇప్పుడు ఇంజనీరింగ్ కదా మ్యాథ్స్ అయిపోయింది కదా అంటే ఐ వాజ్ లైక్ ఎనీథింగ్ బట్ ఇంజనీరింగ్ దే వర్ లైక్ యూఆర్ మేకింగ్ ఇట్ రియలీ డిఫికల్ట్ ఫర్ అస్ వాట్ డూ వాంట్ టు డూ అని చెప్పి మై డాడ్ కేమ్ అప్ విత్ అన్ ఆప్షన్ దట్ సిఏ చెయ్యి దట్ ఈస్ ద థర్డ్ ఆప్షన్ లైక్ గ్రోయింగ్ అప్ దట్ ఈస్ ద థర్డ్ ఆప్షన్ అనమాట లైక్ I didn't know how to say no to the third time again. So I was like, okay, fine. And I went to Delhi and I was like, I knew in my heart that it was not something that I wanted to do. But in Gemisal Mosatana, I went for it. But I think what I'm trying to say here is self-awareness is also to a great extent very important in figuring out what can make you happy, what cannot.
Yeah, and I feel like that also comes to people at different stages in life. You realized when you were in the process. I realized when I was in the process. I'm sure there's a lot of people in their 40s, 50s after working for 10, 20 years. They're like, I don't want to do this. Atla kuda a lot of people quit their like 20-year-old career and jump into something else. Self-awareness, I think, is very important, but it comes to people at different stages. And and also for me, why did you go to law school? And I just wanted to get out of Hyderabad. Because I studied in Jindal. It's in Delhi, outskirts of Delhi.
Okay.
Ante get out of Hyderabad, and it's not no hate to Hyderabad. I love Hyderabad. I did my schooling here. Kani, I felt like nursery nunchi 12th I was in the same school. So I was like, only once I get out of Hyderabad, get out of my comfort zone, maybe I'll grow. And I really feel like I did. Malla self katla cheppunte it might not sound so good. But yeah, people around me have also mentioned it, and I personally feel it. It was a lot of self growth, which I think helps me even now. So
I think when you start living all by yourself, I think the learning that comes with it is a lot.
It's different. Like you can't learn it from books. It's just
in the initial phase, what is the research that you put into?
Yeah, so the research, like I said, basic surveys to start Jesamo, because again, it's not like a research we could send it to anyone and everyone, right? Because first of all, we're only a brand for women, so akkade sakam kattaipoyindi. And then first time when I sent the survey, I sent it to every girl that I knew. Later, kuncham survey, when I was reading the answers, I was like, no, when I actually send a survey, kuncham age restriction kuda undali somewhere, because the answers I was getting was all over the place. So for me to make sense of it was also difficult, because me in research start చేసినప్పుడు I had no clue about who I'm even targeting. So when it comes to research, I feel like before starting, you need to have koncham idea as to who your target audience is. And based on that, formulate the questions and all. So from my first survey, which I didn't end up doing much with, to the second, I narrowed it down a little bit. And after the surveys, honestly, at that point, I didn't really know what else to do apart from that. So I was speaking to people around me.
Okay.
People like my friends in the gym, or other trainers that I knew, my sister's friends, a bunch of people who I knew were into working out. So they would be direct consumers of activewear.
Okay.
So I started speaking to people, and then I started approaching like manufacturers to get more understanding of what the industry is, because I came from no experience. So that was my research. And honestly, then I just jumped into it. It was more like a gut feeling, I think. I jumped into it. I was taking each day as it comes. Luckily, like touchwood, I'm grateful that I could take that time off and I could really experiment. So I feel like I took advantage of the fact that I had that little bit of support and comfort, where my mom was also like, okay, 6 months, you want to really put into this, do it.
I think more often than not, gut feeling actually works really, really well. Not suggesting anybody to not do research, gut feeling, but I think gut feeling actually works for the better. And నాకు అనిపిస్తుంటది. So you said you were a COVID graduate, so you must be having a lot of free time then, if I'm not wrong. How did you make use of it?
Obviously, like everyone during COVID, cleaning, trying to cook, all of that was there. But that's when I got into listening to a lot of podcasts and also YouTube. I was like always consuming a lot of YouTube content college days also. COVID up for time and it was like constantly just trying to get information. And I feel like that really helped me, because it gave me a sense of being a little productive even during a time like COVID, where I wasn't doing anything apart from that, honestly. So, and even till date, post COVID, post lockdown, Anta, all of that really helped me, because I still carry forward a lot of things I learned during COVID.
Okay.
And I still follow a lot of podcast channels, and a lot, like even learning the website on Shopify, I learned from YouTube. So Atla, definitely online resources have been great. And
what are the podcasts that you really enjoy?
Honestly, I don't have specific podcasts like that. I listen to a lot. Actually, I don't even listen to music. I just listen to a lot of podcasts.
I've realized it because you've been listening to all the podcasts that I've been sharing with you. I'm like,
I
that's
love
interesting.
podcasts. Yeah, I
Nice.
feel like it's a lot to learn and all.
Yeah.
Kani, it's not a conscious decision. Just unintentionally, I end up listening to a lot of podcasts that are not Indian. I should really get into Indian podcasts. But there's one called Dream Bigger podcast. Dear Media Productions, Ani, there's like a whole production house, and I really enjoyed their podcast.
Okay.
But more than that, I feel like it's a very mood based thing. So right now, I'm listening to a podcast called Know Your Power. It has nothing to do with business. But right now, I'm in that zone where I'm trying to change my workout and all. Like it's a very personal goal thing.
Yeah.
So I mean, I just search whatever I'm interested in at that point. I just search and I go on a spiral. But during COVID, it was mostly just business podcasts. So anything that I'm interested in, I just search and go into that. So I think that's a great tool, free tool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So more of the topic than what channel it's coming from.
Yeah. It's a lot of at that point what topic I want to listen to. Because Atla, you explore so many things. If you're just listening to a certain kind also, you're in the same loop. So I feel like any topic you're interested in, the searches that you will get from different people.
Okay.
You're just exposed to a lot of other information. What I do, activewear and all of that, it's still very new in India.
Correct.
So even to kind of do a lot of research about it or learn about it, because it's so new and the data is not there in the Indian market. So I feel like if I want to listen to something about activewear, I want to figure out what's coming next and all, I do take references from international brands just because they've been there for so long.
Okay.
So even that is a lot of YouTube and podcasts because I listen to the founders of certain brands and all of that.
Any favorite podcast that like you've had? Not really a channel, but it could be a video or a certain episode that you've really enjoyed and you would love to go back to.
There's a podcast. She doesn't do it anymore, but I think during COVID, she's actually a founder of an American activewear brand.
Yeah.
So she started a podcast, and I listened to all her episodes because I felt like I was getting an insight into her brand.
One question that I had about, because like you recently launched and you obviously have sold a couple of pieces already to a wide range of people. Is there an advice that you've received or the best compliment that you've received so far?
Best compliment, honestly, so many different things because I feel like everyone compliments based on their own experience, right? So I like to see where it's coming from. So there was a certain customer and she bought a pair of leggings.
Okay.
And she really liked it. And she bought a pair of biker shorts. So our biker shorts are knee length shorts. And she bought that and she's like, this is the first time I'm trying. Like, I never wear shorts. I just want to try. I was like, yeah, sure. Like, please go ahead and try. If you don't like it, you can always return it. That's a thing that we have.
Yeah.
And she really enjoyed it. And she messaged saying, this is the first time I wore shorts and I love it. There's no going back now. So, small things like that to know where the compliment is coming from is also very important. And that makes me feel really, really happy.
Interesting. So one more question is that I've been following your Instagram page and I've did a little bit of research myself. I observed that you've been very actively collaborating with a lot of people. So I know for entrepreneurs, especially when we're just starting off, networking plays a huge role into, in the sense that it gives us direction, it opens up new avenues for us. And I see that you've consciously made a decision to collaborate more. Why and how is it going for you?
Brands and also people like content creators.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
So that also I approach from a very personal point of view. If I get an ad and I go to an Instagram page and I want to purchase something from them, model photography is great because you can see what the product looks like. But the minute you see it on a person, you can visualize it better and be like, okay, Atla, if it's looking, say for example, a size S or an M is looking like this on someone, it could fit me too. You know, it's a more visual aspect because we're a clothing and activewear brand at the end of the day, right? And also, apart from that, I feel like organic growth, it's a great way to collaborate with people, which is also why I handle the social media collaborations on my own. And I think it's so much fun. Yeah. Because I made so many friends along the process. So everyone that you see on the page right now, yeah, I've personally spoken to them. It's great to build relationships. And also, earlier you were asking me about research, right? Talking to them directly is the best research. So I try to keep it very organic. And actually, a lot of people suggested that I go to an influencer marketing agency. But somewhere, I mean, again, I don't know how it is when you scale. Yeah. But right now, my logic is if I'm able to handle it on my own, I'll do it for however long I can, because directly interacting with them, talking about your product, and keeping it organic that way is much better in my opinion right now than just sending the product in like courier and be like, "ఎంత వచ్చింది చేసుకోండి." Yeah. And one more thing that I as of now we're very particular about is to keep it super organic. So a lot of brands, they give a script and they say itla undali video or itla undali pictures, which for as long as we can we don't want to do. So a lot of creators are confused also. They're like, why are you not giving a script? I'm like, no, you once the product is in your hand, because I am very confident about the product. I just say once the product is in your hand, tell them whatever you want to. If you think the product has the best fabric, say it. But whatever comes to your mind, say it. And I feel like that helped a lot because people can really see if the content is organic or not. And that more than I think ads more than anything, just seeing it on other people and understanding that, okay, hey, it's a genuine review has helped a lot.
Talking about collaborations, right? అంటే నేను కూడా because I'm just starting off, I've reached out to a lot of entrepreneurs on a lot of platforms separately. Most of the entrepreneurs that I've reached out to immediately said yes. And they are at like a much accomplished, established stage than I am right now. I'm just starting off too. But there are some people through whom I wanted to get in touch with a couple of entrepreneurs or founders or industry experts. And these people were like, Arey, what is in it for us? Yeah. What is in it for them? Yeah. This and that. I'm like, but it's the intention that we are looking for, right? And our intentions should be aligned. Yeah. As much as we want to get as many people as possible on the podcast as well, it's the integrity too. Like,
everything can't be a transaction also, right? Sometimes you just want to talk about it because I feel like this whole journey, again, I'm very new to it. So I could be wrong. But because the journey, it's very glorified. The tiny struggles, big struggles, whatever it is that people face, I feel like it comes from a point of place where me know I went through this, and maybe if I share it, it might help one person, might help two. Yeah. Whatever it is. So I feel like that's where it comes from. Yeah. And like you said, the intention is what it is. Yeah. Because through all the business podcasts that I was listening to and all of that, I may not, like in a one-hour podcast, I may have taken just 1, 2, 3 lines from it. But, you know, at least those lines really helped me. Yeah. So, yeah, it's just the intention at the end of the day and what you want to put out there. Everything can't be a transaction.
Absolutely. అంటే నెగిటివ్ గా చెప్పకూడదని నేను ట్రై చేస్తున్నాను. I feel like it's not the entrepreneurs that have always reached out to extremely warm. It's the people in between. It's the people in between who are, because they're not in the ecosystem, right? They're outside. They don't know how things work. That could also be the reason, which is why I tend to directly reach out to people myself, because that is more organic, like you just mentioned. That helps you form a, you know, new bond, new relation. And as the cliche goes, your network is your network. And one more thing that you've touched upon, that like you pick on 1 or 2 lines. I've observed one thing, Harshitha, like you also, because you've already done one podcast, right? If let's say people are watching these 2 podcasts, they would learn different things from both the podcasts. Yeah. And if let's say, like, I've actually been going on this thing about like all the Tanmay Bhatt's podcasts that he's doing recently about his journey, mostly his journey. I've heard around 5 of them just about his journey, and there was a different takeaway from me from each podcast.
Yeah. And also, it's the mindset that you're listening from, like the thought process that you have also. It all makes a difference for sure.
Yeah, fair. So, let's say if somebody wants to start a business themselves, just graduated, could be in their early 30s, could be in their early 40s, what are those tips that you would want to give them?
Honestly, I would say if you can do it, just do it. And actually, when a lot of people, again, going back to podcasts for the 100th time, but that's a resource I really lean on, right?
Yeah.
So, during COVID, especially when I was listening to a lot of podcasts, business podcasts, every founder was just like, just do it, go for it. What's the worst thing that could happen? Upward, when I was listening to all of that, I'm like, వీళ్ళకి చెప్పడానికి చాలా easy because they've accomplished everything, they've done everything.
Yeah.
But then I realized it's true. If you don't start, you'll never know what is the worst thing that could happen. Obviously, I'm not saying risk everything and just fall into something. Calculated risks are necessary. And I believe in this one line. It goes, no risk, no story. So if you don't take a small risk, how are you going to move on to the next thing?
Yeah.
So, circling back to it, I think you should just take the plunge if you're able to, and always see where it goes from there, right? If like if you have a plan, nothing goes according to the plan ever. You can ask anybody.
Take it and write
Like,
it.
yeah, it'll never go according to plan. So you have to pivot, you have to do all of that, talk to people, take advice, and just kind of go with the flow. Be cautious, obviously, but go with the flow, and only then you'll know if it ever happens. Because everyone that you look up to right now, whether you're reading a book about a founder or anything, whatever resource that you're using to know about all these people, అప్పుడప్పుడు అందరు కనిపిస్తుంది, oh, when will I get there, or will I ever get there? I want to be there. But if you take a step back and look, they also started from where you were.
Correct.
So it's just about starting if you're able to, and seeing where it goes. And touch wood, if something is not going the way you wanted it, at least you know and you learn so much, because along the way, you're making mistakes, you're talking to people that you maybe wouldn't have otherwise to, and you're just learning so much. So that could open another opportunity for you. You could take all those learnings and do something else that might become super successful. You really never know.
Correct.
So putting yourself out there is great. And that's something I'm struggling with, because I'm a very, I'm not the most confident person.
Yeah.
I promised myself that I'm going to work on that. So I'm trying a lot more to put myself out there. So it's a lot of baby steps, and just try it. You'll never know if you don't try.
Correct. Because you said that you want to stick to e-commerce, right? I want to understand, I'm very, very curious to understand what your social media strategy is, at least for like the next 6 months to 1 year.
Actually, we're going to kind of change the way we're doing it.
Okay.
Because recently I was talking to someone for a social media collaboration, and we just connected and we ended up talking a lot. And she asked me a very interesting question. She's like, what's your strategy for the second launch? And I was like, that's actually something we're working on, because first collection launch, it happened very randomly. Like, believe it or not, I was extremely scared. So website was ready, stock was ready, everything was good to go. Mottam, the whole logistics integration, it was like just go live and nokkal ante. And I just didn't do it. I was scared, or I was like, like I was very scared. And so I work with a very great social media team, and they sent me the creatives. We discussed what has to go up when. They sent me the creatives, and I was very excited. I'm like, yes, this is exactly what we've been working for. And they're like, okay, it's all good to go. We'll post tomorrow. I'm like, no, post just think that means we're going live. They're like, yeah, post tomorrow and just do it. So that's how we did it. So there was not like a huge strategy then.
Okay.
It was a lot of learning and going with the flow, seeing what people like and don't like. and whatever people like, we're trying to do more of that. But for the second collection, now that we have say 5 6 months of experience as to in the same field, we want to be more strategic, have a lot more thought behind it.
Okay.
And yeah, we want to come up with something more interesting, because I want to put myself out there more, like I was saying, right? And the whole idea behind the brand was it came from a personal problem, but I haven't shown that side of me yet, as behind Mile, the whole story behind it.
Yeah.
So with the second launch, we want to be more personal. And I also feel like right now with so many brands, especially post COVID, so many e-commerce brands, that element, like that human element, is somewhere missing. So we want to bring that out more. And yeah, you could say that that's the strategy that we want to go after.
One is, have you hired people so far?
So I mean, it's more of like an outsourced team of different people. So everyone works remote.
Okay.
And yeah, the whole team is completely remote. And hiring obviously is extremely important, because only when you work with people with that expertise, you can grow.
Yeah.
If you ask me anything about ads or like creative, like I have an idea, but to put that across the tools that you need, I don't have it.
Yeah.
Google ads, Meta ads, I don't know much about it at all. I'm trying to learn. So wherever, whatever is your weakness, you have to go to the experts for that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, also like doing 10 things at the same time, you're going to be stuck at the end of the day.
Correct. My last question is that, would you seek funding in the future? Have you thought about this?
I thought about it, and I feel like because we're so new, we're not at that stage, honestly. Again, never say never, right? If you're at that stage, that's great. But again, I feel like funding is also, I could be wrong again in this. More, I'm talking from a personal experience. But post COVID and all, especially in India, e-commerce startups, sometimes it became more like a buzzword and more exciting, and everyone wants to do something, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like funding through the process has become such a glorified thing. A lot of people think if a company is funded, only they're doing well.
Yeah.
And, why not even glorify bootstrapped companies? That's a whole other ballgame. So, I'm not saying this is right, this is wrong. It's a very personal preference.
Yeah.
It also comes from a point of how much are you able to put in right now, and where you want to put your money. It's a very personal thing, and it also depends on what the company needs, at what level you want to scale it, and all of that.
Yeah.
So if we're at the stage where we really want funding, that would be a route that we'll take. But again, not an easy process at all.
Good luck with Mileactive and your second collection release in November.
Yeah, very excited for that.
We're super excited for you, and we know that you have it in you and you're going to move forward with it. Any parting thoughts from your end?
Parting thoughts, I would just circle back again to, the advice thing that you were asking. If anyone's watching this, and, because I just started the journey, I'm very new in it. So I feel like if I want to give any like parting thoughts, it would be just do your research a little bit, have fun. If you have an idea, explore it. There's no harm in exploring an idea. At least you'll know that you tried.
Yeah.
And that might open another opportunity for you somewhere. You never know unless you put yourself out there, right?
Yeah.
And it is difficult, like anything else. Everything is kind of difficult.
Correct.
But I feel like challenges lekapothe, it's not fun. It's monotonous. Challenges undali.
Yeah.
So yeah, just enjoy the process.
Fair. Thank you so much for coming over, Harshitha.
Thank you so much. It was a lot of fun.
Thank you. Thank you so much.